and for tuning in to the Macedonian program. One of the challenges which Balkans face at present is repairing the damage done to the regional reputation by current eruptions of irredentism and nationalism. In the ongoing dispute between Greece and the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, FYROM, which has generated a great deal of political and academic debate on both sides all these years, things do not seem to be getting better in the near future. FYROM continues steadily to a purposeful downgrading of good relations with its neighbour Greece. The newest addition, dear friends, to the long list of provocations by the Slavs of FYROM was to recently erect a gigantic statue of the ancient Greek conqueror Alexander the Great in Skopje, the ancient capital of Dardania. A glaringly apparent question will be the following: why the Slavs of FYROM erected a statue of an ancient Greek hero? Well, in fact, FYROM's Slavs have erected three statues. One of Alexander in Skopje, and two statues of Philip II of Macedon, one in Monastiri and one in Skopje. This massive hysteria of ancient Greek statues is part of the systematic attempt of FYROM to usurp the Greek history and heritage of ancient Macedonians. What makes it even more comical is the fact that almost a century ago, during the Bulgarian uprising in Illidan, the Bulgarian heroes, in inverted commas, of the Slavs in modern FYROM, like Delchev and Gluev, executed as a traitor, those few Slavs at the time they self-identified as Bulgarians, who dared to claim descended of Alexander the Great. Today, dear friends, we have the exact opposite. Whoever dares to claim in FYROM the truth, namely that the Slavic element are just Slavs and have nothing to do with ancient Macedonians, he is labelled at once as a traitor. Hypocrisy is ever absent from FYROM. And very briefly, we shall continue with part 3 of the ethnic and historical origins of FYROM. The Russo-Turkish War of 1878 had a number of dire consequences for Serbian nationalistic goals. Because of its support for Russia, Turkey closed all Serbian schools within Macedonia. The Treaty of San Stefano in 1878 demonstrated to Serbian politicians that there existed a strong and general acceptance that Macedonia was populated by Bulgarians. Later, in 1881, Serbian hopes to annex Bosnia and Herzegovina had to be abandoned, which meant redirecting its quest for an outlet to the Aegean via Macedonia. These setbacks led Serbia to instigate the Serbo-Bulgarian War of 1885, which ended in its convincing defeat. Thus, to accomplish what it had failed to do militarily, Serbia now pursued two separate tactics to enhance its future claims to Macedonia. The first was based on proving directly that Macedonia was actually populated by Serbs, not Bulgarians. The second involved fostering nascent Macedonian separatism, known as Macedonism, as a counter to Bulgarian influence. While previously Stoyan Novakovic had criticized the chauvinistic policies of individuals like Milosevic, times had changed, and now, as an eminent Serbian statesman, he felt it his duty to support Serbian claims to the Macedonian territories. Therefore, initially, Novakovic attempted to show that Slavic dialects of Macedonia were not part of the Bulgarian language, but actually part of the Serbian language. However, because his study was dismissed by noted academics of the period, including Jagic, Miletic, Oplak, and Dezovan, he realized that this strategy could not succeed. Subsequently, Novakovic advanced a thesis that in the late 9th century, Macedonia had three ethnic Slavic groups: Bulgarian, Serbian, and Slovene, and that these divisions still persisted and were identifiable in the present population. He outlined his theory in First Foundations of Slavic Literature amongst the Balkan Slavs. This, dear friends, being a 300-page monograph, was published in 1893 by the Serbian Academy of Sciences. What Novakovic had produced was a blueprint for de-Bulgarization of the Macedonian Slavs by their Macedonianization if direct Serbianization could not be readily effected. The intent is explicitly confirmed by Novakovic's well-known and quoted dispatch to the Serbian minister in 1888. And here is the quote, dear friends. It is very interesting. Since a Bulgarian idea, as it is well known to all, is deeply rooted in Macedonia, I think it is almost impossible to shake it completely by opposing it merely with the Serbian idea. This idea, we fear, would be incapable as opposition pure and simple of suppressing the Bulgarian idea. That is why the Serbian idea will need an ally that could stand in direct opposition to the Bulgarianism and would contain in itself the elements which could attract the people and their feelings and thus sever them from Bulgarianism. This ally I see in the Macedonism, or to a certain extent in our nursing the Macedonian dialect and Macedonian separatism. I close the quote. The Society of St. Sava was the chief organ for dissemination of Serbian propaganda on the Macedonian question, and it offered well-paid scholarships to Macedonians in the hope that they could ultimately be turned against the Bulgarian idea. Between 1888 and 1889, quite a number of Macedonians accepted their scholarships and went to Belgrade. They soon became aware of the obvious underlying reasons behind the program, however, especially when they were forbidden to possess Bulgarian literature. Subsequently, some 30 to 40 students left Belgrade to continue their education elsewhere, mostly Sofia. However, it was during Novakovic's appointment as consul at St. Petersburg that the staunchest and most dogmatic advocate of Macedonism, Dimitar Shupovsky, arose. Again, we note that Shupovsky and his small group of followers were directly supported by the St. Sava Society and had an almost identical agenda to that of the four Macedonians that met with Novakovic in Belgrade during 1886. My dear friends, I thank you once again for listening and tuning to this program. God willing, I will join you again next Sunday.